Hi, Richard. I'm so glad to finally connect. I know we tried many times, but could you say a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Good to see you, Nate, and good to be here. And yeah, so I've just been a space fan for about the past, since somewhere in the 90s. So probably over a good 25, 30 years or more. Yeah, I've done a few. I did an astronomy, what is it? Astrophysics course, sorry, an astrophysics course at the university that I work at as a printer, and was kindly allowed to sit in on some classes, and so that really helped spur my interest. And I guess I like to keep a sort of a broad interest in a lot of areas, but yeah, the moon is one of them. But also a very keen Mars fan as well, I must admit. But also exoplanets, and I've been following JWST lately and been very excited about that as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But keen to talk about the moon some more today, and hopefully the fighter jets going over Sydney for Australia Day aren't too much of a problem for us.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I think it's you're hearing them more than us. That your
yeah,
microphone is
okay.
really good.
Yeah.
Picks you up perfectly, but nothing else.
Good to hear. Yeah, I'm just on the iPad today, so hopefully not too bad. Good. Yeah. So
Can you tell
do
us a
you?
little
Yeah.
bit about Australia Day?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so Australia Day is celebrated as the day that Captain Cook first landed in Australia, in on January 26th. Try and get this right, 1778. I believe it was. Could have been 1776. I think it was 78. Anyway, yeah, it's 78, I think, or 1788. Oh, God. Now I'm really on the spot. I've forgotten my years. But it was January 26th that he landed in Botany Bay with the first sort of settlers, I think it was. And he'd sort of mapped a lot of the East Coast prior to that some years earlier, but then came back with settlers. And they settled Sydney in Sydney Cove, near where the Opera House is today, and the Sydney Harbour Bridge is today. Yeah. So yeah, very good.
Was the Opera House built there for that reason?
It wasn't. I don't think so. The Opera House was built in the mid-70s, finished late 70s. I think it was around $10 to $20 million or something at the time, which is a lot of money at the time. But it was, I think it was a Danish architect. I'm sorry, I've forgotten his name. But it was just built for the arts mainly. We have the music conservatorium just about 2 or 3 blocks back from the Opera House. So I think that lends itself to the arts for that reason. And I've seen a few concerts there, and it's a great place to see people perform. Yeah, so it's lovely. Yeah, yeah.
And you mentioned that you took some astrophysics courses, and that got you interested deeper. But you were interested before that. Do you know what actually first sparked your interest?
Yeah. Okay. So I guess when I was around 4 or 5 years old, we were growing up on in a country in New South Wales, in a little town called Orange, and we lived on the outskirts. So there was a lot of stars at night, and I remember I got a book off my uncle, which was an old 50s or 60s kind of sci-fi art book, with spacemen in it, and that made me look up the stars more. And then there was Disney, of course. That spurred my interest in a lot in the stars as well. And I remember going out and looking at all the stars, and Mum would say to me, "Come inside, it's time to have your dinner now," and I want to look at the stars some more, And then later on, as I began working at a university I've been at for over 25 years now, printing, I was there in about the mid-90s. I went to the library at our university and found some books on astronomy, and that really got me interested. I think that one of the first ones was on Stonehenge, which was to do with archaeoastronomy, and that was fascinating. And that kind of, speaking of archaeoastronomy, that led me to go to Machu Picchu in about 2011, and where I saw the Incas had a carving of the southern, what do you call it, the crux, the Southern Cross, which is on the Australian flag. So that's a nice tie-in as well. Yeah, I've had a broad interest in all areas of astronomy, but that's kind of my main areas is probably Mars, also a little bit of the moon, but also exoplanets. I'm very interested in seeing what JWST may find for us in the atmospheres of all the exoplanets that may be hopefully looking at soon, and that's gone super well. So very excited about that. But yeah, very excited about everything that SpaceX is doing, of course, and so really looking forward to the moon. The moon missions with Artemis is going to be incredible. Yeah, so really looking forward to that.
Do you remember when you first learned about Artemis?
Oh yeah, gee. Well, I think originally it would have been around 2010 when it was called the Constellation mission, which George Bush announced. I think it was 2010. And so I've kind of been following it ever since then. And it's great to see it finally looks like, hopefully, that we're going to see a mission around the moon from NASA later this year. I think November, December timeframe at this stage, if it doesn't get pushed back any further, hopefully. So hopefully that'll launch around then and give us an Apollo 8 style mission, which will be just fantastic. I can't wait for that. And then Artemis 2, I believe, with astronauts, I think is late 2023 or early 2024 at this stage. Fingers crossed, if all goes well, which is a big if, but fingers crossed. So, yeah.
Would you be surprised that most of the people I talk to who aren't following space, just random people at the coffee shop on the street,
oh, right.
about 80% of them don't know we're planning to send people back to the moon.
Oh, really? No, I did not know that. Okay, well, that's interesting. I guess I should. I like to talk to people about getting them interested in Artemis, and but I guess I'm too too closely involved with a lot of people that are following the mission to sort of. But I do with all my family and friends. I do mention it when I can, and without trying to bore them to tears too much. But so I try to keep them in the loop. So maybe they've become more aware of it because of my constant banging on about it. So maybe I should take a step back and appreciate, what the average Australian has to say a bit more, and get a bit more of an insight in that regard. Yeah, but all good.
It is kind of interesting what excites different communities and things.
Yeah.
But I mean, what does excite people in Australia and the people that you interact with? What do they get excited about?
Oh, well, a couple of things I was just thinking about prior to talking with you. Is the Australian Space Agency kicked off about 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago now. And we recently signed a deal, I saw on the news here. Our Prime Minister signed a deal with NASA for $23 million, which is to fund, what are they called? Microsatellites. So we're going to do some ride sharing on, I'm not sure which rocket it will be on and when, but I believe there's some. We do a lot of work in with microsatellites in Australia, as well as obviously with our our Parkes dish. Whether that will be evolved with Artemis, I'm not sure. But I went out to Parkes a couple of years ago with my wife and just and that was fascinating, seeing all the history of the Parkes radio telescope associated with the first moon Apollo transmissions. But so there's that history is all still there, as well as we have we're part of the Deep Space Network in Canberra. So that's a big part of what we do here to help with all the missions, especially with the Mars rovers and things like that. So when the radio telescopes in Spain or in Goldstone in California don't have reception to the moon, Australia does, and so we will link using our side of the Earth to the moon when that happens. So there's a lot of history there, and still till this day that helps with those missions, and also at Saturn and Jupiter with Juno and Cassini when it was going. So that's great that's still we're still involved, and it's good that NASA is recognizing that, and we've got our own small little rocket companies that are starting to kick off now, that are inspired by SpaceX as well, I think, a lot, and so that's great to see as well. I trying to remember the names of them. I don't want to get them wrong, so I won't quote any names. Oh gosh, I'm hopeless. But there's one in Queensland, and there's a few others, I think, in South Australia, and we're trying to there's also talk of another one. They're trying to build a launch platform somewhere not far from Darwin in the Northern Territory. So that'd be great if that could go ahead as well. But it's only very early stages there as well. But so there's a lot of things happening, but it's early days for most of the things here. Yeah, apart from obviously the older, the historical missions that we've done. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really amazing. So, but I mean, talking about small launch companies, I feel like we have to mention one of your neighbors.
Oh, yes. Yes, I think we should. Yes, of course. Rocket Labs.
Right.
Yes, they are doing amazing work. Yeah, so the Kiwis are incredible. They're Peter Beck, his company, are doing amazing work. And it's great to see, and they are helping. That could be where we might see some of those Australian microsatellites could go up with Rocket Labs, perhaps. That would make sense, but I'm not sure whether it's with Rocket Labs or with SpaceX or with NASA. I wish I knew. Don't have that information at the moment. But anyway, so either way, it's going to be great to see. So yeah, so we're really excited about those launches, and hopefully those will be coming up soon. But yeah, Rocket Lab's doing great work and launching a lot more of those sort of smaller satellites up there. And the smaller satellites now can do a lot more than they ever used to, of course, with the with the way that microchips are going and everything. So that's fantastic, and making great work there. Yeah, great discoveries all happening.
Was Rocket Labs a big surprise for you whenever they were successful, or did you see it coming?
No, I had no idea, and but it was a very nice surprise to see that, and I'm very excited by what they're doing, of course, and so if we ever get to New Zealand, it's one thing I'd love to put on my bucket list is to see the Rocket Labs launch site if I can. So I believe it's on the tip of New Zealand somewhere, so I'll have to investigate that further if we ever make it over that way, hopefully soon one day. Yeah, love to see that.
I've interviewed people in many countries around the world who don't have space programs, and they often lament that they need to come to the US in order to participate. But I think Rocket Labs provides kind of a counterexample. You really can, if you got the right people together, could develop a launch company and a space company any place in the world, probably.
That's right, and New Zealand are doing amazing work there. So, what was I going to say? They're I'm just trying to remember exactly what their plans are, but they've got a new rocket I saw recently. I think now, I'm just trying to remember if it's called the proton or what its name
The
is.
neutron? I think
Neutron, thank you.
yeah.
The neutron. I knew it was part of the atom. The neutron, thank you very much. So the neutron, I believe, and they're hoping to make that fully reusable, which will be quite amazing. And it's going to open up the top of the fairing to launch all the satellites out of the top of the fairing that way, which will, and then close up and then reland. But I think it's looking at somewhere around 2024, maybe 2025 for that to go ahead for the neutron. So, but really excited about that rocket, and that'll be fantastic and great to see. It'd be lovely to be there for that. So we'll see what happens, but fingers crossed. Either way, just to see it on the web would be amazing. Yeah.
I mean, all these launch companies are phenomenal, in terms of the neutron and everything. But, if SpaceX is successful with their Starship, I mean, that's going to change everything, I think.
Oh, it sure is. Yeah. So I couldn't agree more. And so one plan I've talked about with my wife is that when, because we're looking at retiring probably about 5 years from now. Which puts us around 2026, end of 2026, somewhere in there. So if the first launch for humans to Mars that SpaceX are hoping to do, if it's somewhere in 2026 or maybe 2028, 29, whatever, we hope that we could be there for that launch, that first launch for human Mars launch. Would be amazing. So, but we'll see what happens. But hopefully, I saw there's a great place to view that and stay. I think it was called the Rocket Ranch. So somewhere near in Texas near Boca Chica. So that would be a great place to. I was just having a look around. I think I'm trying to remember. Ellie in Space shared that one and did a little story on that. If you ever want to check it out, it's well worth a look. Yeah, so that would be a great place to settle for a few days and hopefully catch a launch.
Well, South Padre Island might be another option. I was down there the March before last, and SN13 was almost going to launch, and I was hoping to actually see it. But even if I had stayed, considering it was completely in the fog, I still wouldn't have been able to see it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, that was a real shame. And so that you saw bits and pieces as it landed, blew up or whatever it was. And it would have been nice to have been able to see a bit more of that flight. But it just wasn't to be. But they still went ahead. The SpaceX, they don't care. They just keep launching. And I just hope that they get the approval from the FAA and the SEC or whatever it is as to launch from Boca Chica. I know that they're saying that they're hoping to get approval at the end of February, so they might be launching in March, April, somewhere in that sort of time frame. So fingers crossed. So that would be great to see with the launch of the Starship with the booster on the bottom of it this time and launching all the way around the Earth to land somewhere near Hawaii, I believe, which would be amazing. So, I hope that we see that this year, sometime in the first quarter of this year would be incredible. So, fingers crossed for that one. Yeah,
it would be. I mean, and if they actually are able to recover one even this year or next year, I mean, it's just like,
yeah, that would be incredible too. So those catching arms, they've tested them out a lot lately, putting the water weights on the arms to simulate the weight of the rocket ship being caught. So they've done everything they could. I think they've set themselves up very well. They've got a lot of extra employees now. I'm not sure how many they have there now, but it's many hundreds and possibly in the thousands now. But so they're working round the clock, I believe. There's sort of 2 or 3 shifts working round the clock to get it done as quick as they can. And so while they're waiting for the approval to go ahead, they should hopefully have everything ready to go by the time they're approved. So yeah, but I think they're approved. They're going to be approved for 2 or 3, maybe 5 flights a year from Boca Chica, which is great. But I know that they probably would like a lot more. So, but I hear that they might be using 39A, pad 39A at Florida for more launches there, which would be incredible. So that's being they're preparing the pad for Starship as well, which is amazing as well. So yeah, hopefully both go ahead, which would be great.
They might use those 5 launches just to move some Starships over to Kennedy.
Now there's an idea. I didn't think of that one. Oh, that would be great. So that because people have said, how are they going to move the Starships over? And that would be one way. Certainly beats putting it on a barge.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Gets it there a lot sooner. So that would
and you've already tested it out a little bit too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Win-win. So yeah, and yeah, it'd be great to see, and also all the facilities supporting the mission would be a lot more, would make a lot more sense from 39A, I think, as well. I think in long term that would probably make a lot more sense for Moon and Mars missions as well. And I know that NASA are now keen to have, they've signed deals with SpaceX to have them land on the Moon, haven't they? So the Starship is now going to be the official landing vehicle for the Artemis program, which is just incredible. I didn't think they'd win it. I thought for sure that Blue Origin or the other group that were vying for the contract would win, and so it was amazing. That was a great day when I heard that Starship won that. I still can't believe it. So but that's terrific. Makes a lot of sense. So.
I mean, the design is hard to believe from a lunar lander standpoint, and just kind of mass and everything. But
it is massive, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be so funny to have the ship in low Earth orbit that we refuel, send all the way to the Moon, and they have like this little bitty capsule with 4 astronauts dock with it to land to the Moon.
That's right. It's it's kind of David and Goliath, isn't it? Yeah, it really is. Yeah, so that's going to be quite something to see. But the footage from that is going to be quite incredible. And even prior to that, we've still got. As far as I know, we're still going ahead with the Dear Moon mission is still happening. Last I heard, they were still looking at late 2023, but I think that's probably a bit wishful. I think they're probably going to be. I think it's probably going to have to be early 2024 if they're lucky, if everything goes very well. I think with all the setbacks they've had already, that they're probably it's going to have to be 2024. But either way, that is going to be incredible to see them if they go ahead, hopefully, with the Dear Moon mission, the Apollo 8 style mission around the far side of the Moon. The far side of the Moon is quite amazing in itself because it has far less craters on it. There's one large crater, but a lot less cratered than the near side of the Moon. So it's almost like it's very foreign to what we're used to seeing of the Moon. So fascinating to see what they will take from that, what they can garner from that kind of mission. I believe they're going to fly within maybe 300 kilometers of the Moon, something like that, which would be quite amazing as well, which would bring it right up close. And so looking forward to that. And I believe that, what's his name now? I've forgotten his name. Yuzaka Mazawa. Mm-hmm. He recently went on to this ISS. So he's had his kind of training there with at Star City and everything as well. So he's just about ready to go and very excited. So, of course, and rightly so. So, I look forward to seeing who he chooses as well, because he's going to take, I believe, 8 artists and, painters and singers and all sorts of things, songwriters with him and sculptors and what have you. So that would be, and storytellers and poets or whatever. So this is going to be quite a fascinating group to see what will come of them with their, once they land as well, how their perspective on Earth and the Moon system changes once they've been out to the other side of our Earth Moon system. And the photos alone are going to be just incredible, I believe. So just to see the photos with the more modern cameras technology is going to be quite something, to see that Apollo 8 style Earthrise again with modern technology will be something as well. So looking forward to all that very much. Yeah.
It is amazing. I mean, I just wonder what it does to Artemis if their moon's successful.
Well, that's right. Yeah, that's right. It's really going to give Artemis, hopefully give Artemis a NASA a wake-up call, because if they pull that off, it's really going to, make them think, gee whiz, we've really got to get our act together, because, if SpaceX can do that on their own, well, then, it makes Orion look like a real add-on, doesn't it? And so that's going to be, see how that plays out. But either way, I think that obviously Musk has always had great respect for NASA, and they work well together. It was a shame that we lost Jim Bridenstine as the head of NASA recently, but I hope that the new man he's been very good lately as well. So far, so good. So I look forward to the partnership between them working well together. So that's going to be quite something to see. It's very exciting times. It's only a few years away now, and so as we get closer, we're going to see all these test launches without humans, and then launching the human crews up there. It's not long to go now, I think. So very exciting this year and next year with all those missions going ahead. Yeah.
Now, China has for a long time talked about putting people on the moon in 2035. I think it was just a few weeks ago that they said they thought they could do 2027.
Yeah, that's right. They've really moved their timeline forward a lot. And obviously they're having great success with their rockets to do that. So their Long March series of rockets they've really had great success with those, and they're been putting together just the beginnings of their own space station in the last year or two. So there was a crew of 3 astronauts went up there for China a few months ago, and that was all successful. So I wish them all the best of luck. And gee whiz, they're both Artemis and the Chinese are both looking to land on the South Pole, I believe, of the moon. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, a lot of people speculate about whether the Chinese are just going there to mine the South Pole or what, or what they might be doing. But look, they say the Chinese will tell you it's an exploratory mission and blah blah blah. So I hope that's the case. But look, we'll see what happens. I don't want to say either way, but I really hope it is an exploratory mission, and that would be wonderful. I think it'd be great for humanity to have anybody on the moon, and that's what Musk is keen to do as well, is to have like an Antarctic kind of base. So it's quite fitting that it's going to be on the South Pole. Like the bases we have in Antarctica. So that would be terrific. I think that a lot of countries hopefully will end up working closely together and well together, like they do on the space station, which I think would be just perfect. And there's so much great science that we're yet to do on the moon. So it needs to happen, and the sooner it happens, the better. And I think that I look forward to all these discoveries that they're going to make, especially the billions of year old comet ice is going to tell us a lot about the early solar system. And in the 60s, we didn't quite have the tech we do now to be able to investigate that in the way we can now. And so they will be bringing back a treasure trove for our scientists here. And it's just going to be studied very closely for years to come. And so what that will tell us, we'll be writing whole new textbooks about. So it's just great. Can't wait.
I did want to ask you a little bit more about China. You know, I'm way over here
Sure.
in Houston, Texas,
Sure.
halfway around the world, but China is your neighbor.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we've had a long history of economic trade with China for Australia, and so we've had to get along with them just because of their proximity. So it's been an interesting relationship, diplomatically for us. And it's been good and bad at times, but mostly good. So we depend on them quite a lot, and I got to be honest, we you know, Western Australia has sold a lot of iron to China over the years, so we depend on them for that reason. I think you know, it's been in the hundreds of millions of dollars, if not more, you know, for many decades now, I think. So for that reason, I think we have a sort of a love-hate relationship, but mostly good. You know, sometimes there's been some politicians who've not said on both sides that have not said quite the right things, and we have to be very careful. We don't, you know, we got to walk very tenderly, you know, to try and just sail the ship, you know, smoothly through there. Yeah. So, but hopefully all good. Fingers crossed. Moving forward. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, we'll see how we go. It's not easy. Yeah. But it's so far so good, more or less, give or take.
If it was safe and affordable, would you take a trip to space?
Yes, I probably would. I think that there's my hope at this stage. I'm 53 as I speak to you, so my hope is that I believe in nearly 40 years from now, if I'm still around, hopefully in my early 90s, that I would love to take a high altitude, if this counts, I don't know, but a high altitude balloon ride. There's a few groups that are looking to do this. I believe that if you wanted to look them up, there's one called Space Perspectives, who are a company that are looking to do high altitude balloon rides for people. It's not going to be cheap. I think you're looking at around 50 to 60,000 American dollars, somewhere in that range, which will give you a 6-hour flight. And the reason I'm keen for that time frame is because obviously that's when Comet Halley will be coming close to the Earth.
Wow.
So yes, so I'm really hoping to catch it from low Earth orbit, if you could call it that. But it goes up about, I think it goes up between about 50 to 100 kilometers up. So it's not quite space, but you know, it's definitely above what your usual sort of 747 would do. So it give you the curvature of the Earth, the blackness of space, and you'd see the Halley's Comet sort of lighting up the sky. And I believe that it's going to come a lot closer than it did in 1986. I think it's going to come more like the 1910 pass, where it came about 2 or 3 times closer to the Earth, which will give us a long tail winding off with all the outgassing from the comet. So that would be quite something. And so I'm very keen to do that, and hopefully take my wife up as well. So if I can afford it at the time. So that'd be the plan. So fingers crossed, we try and eat all the right things in the meantime and do a bit of exercise, and hopefully we can be around to see that was our goal. So yeah, we'd love to see that. Yeah, so that'd be cool. That's probably it for me. I mean, I have a friend who who's hoping his father can leave him some money so that he can go to space. He wants to go to the moon and land on the moon in sometime in the 2030s or 40s. But I think that's probably a bit wishful. But look, we'll see what happens. I hope he makes it. You know, his name is Max, and so I wish Max all the best and hope he can land on the moon one day. But his father is was a plastic surgeon, and so he did really well for himself. So he's hoping that his dad might be able to leave him enough money for him to go to the moon. So just be incredible if he makes it. I'd just love to see him on the moon. Would be so quite something. But I don't think I'll be making it there myself in my lifetime. But gee, it'd be amazing to see. Of course, Musk is hoping to send people to Mars, but I think I've got too many friends and family here. I'd miss too much for me to go. Although I'd love to, and I'm sure that'd all be behind me if I did. But I think I've talked to enough people now for me to be comfortable for them to go ahead and do what I'd love to do anyway. So which is basically to investigate the lava tubes and the cave systems that we see off the bases of Valles Marineris and the base of Olympus Mons. There's dozens of cave systems and lava tubes around those areas, which we're very keen to investigate for signs of ancient life on Mars, probably just microbial life, but geez, it would be amazing to have a separate DNA to Earth, and to be able to investigate that further would be incredible. So that's something I'm very hopeful to see in my lifetime, at least, from whether it's from a NASA crew or a SpaceX crew or both, hopefully, I imagine. And if I happen to sort of know one of those people, would be just incredible enough in its own. So that would be something. Really looking forward to that.
And after we do all the investigation about previous life, maybe we can sew them up and put airlocks on them and live on them.
Well, that's right. That's exactly right. So they'd be a very good place for us to settle. The cave systems and lava tubes are quite large, and so if they're airtight, then why not? Exactly, and it gives us that radiation protection and micrometeorite protection, because the atmosphere of Mars is so thin, less than 1% of Earth. So that'd make very good sense, I think, to utilize those. And there was a recent show just called Mars on National Geographic a few years ago, I think 2019 or 2018, which sort of loosely based on that idea of setting up a colony inside the cave systems, although they used separate habitats inside the cave system in that doco, that sort of doco. But that was great. I really enjoyed that show as well. But also a massive the Martian movie with Damon as well. So that was great as well. But it was a pity that they didn't stick quite to the science, and that they had to. I think for Hollywood they had to make the Martian wind a bit stronger than it actually is. But that's okay. We let them off because it was such a good movie.
The astronaut candidates, they have to do like this little interview before they start the training, and one of the astronaut candidates was asked, so what are two things that you would bring to Mars, or what would you bring to Mars? And she answered, Matt Damon and a bunch of ketchup.
Very good. I like it. That makes total sense, because he ran out of ketchup halfway through, and so I love that answer. That is brilliant. I think the one I think I saw that same question recently on Twitter, and my answer was an electron microscope, because I think that's the one thing you're really going to need. Obviously, you're going to need all the comforts of home. I'd love to take a guitar myself. I play a little bit of music now and then, so I'd love to take a guitar. But I think ultimately, an electron microscope is what's going to change our perspective on life in the solar system and throughout the cosmos, really. So yeah. that would be my answer, I hope.
It is kind of interesting. I don't know if you're talking about, if you like Martian, maybe you like Andy Weir's other novels. And recently,
Yes,
published Project Hail Mary. I don't know if you've read that one.
I have not read it. But I've read little pieces of it that he's put on on Twitter and what have you, and that was released by Amazon. But just the first half a chapter if you're lucky, but it looks fascinating. I really should get round to reading that, and but I wish him all the best with it. I really would love them to do a movie of it. Actually, it would be great, for the larger audience to be able to see that. But then again, I mean, we're going to have the real life version soon enough, hopefully. So so that'd be incredible. I really hope that a lot more countries get involved. Apart from just Australia with our side of what we're doing, but also a lot of those are European countries that have gone to the space station, also Japan and Canada. I'd love to see them get more involved. I mean, Chris Hadfield did some amazing work, and so it'd be great for Canada to do a bit more with the like they've done on the space station, basically, on the moon, and carry that forward would be great, with the Canada arm and all that kind of thing. I'd love to see that more international involvement would be a really good thing for the Earth, and all the jobs programs for all those countries would be spurred on by the engineering that's required and all the rest of it. So I think people really underestimate what it can do for Earth, and so I think that would be great to see that play out and over the next decade or so, and I'm really looking forward to this. Yeah.
Well, Richard, thank you so much for connecting with me. I know we covered a lot of topics. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to?
Thank you for having me, and it's been great. No, I think we've covered just about everything I can think of, more or less. But no, really, just great to talk to you, Nate. And finally, and all the best with the Countdown to Mars, but Countdown to the Moon and Mars programs, and look forward to watching more of them. And all the very best, and live long and prosper.
Okay, I can't quite do that, but that's awesome.
Okay. All the very best, Nate. Great
you
to
too.
Talk. All the best. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye. Happy Australia Day. Bye-bye, everybody.
Happy Australia
Bye-bye.
Day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.